Oh, tears are welling up.
아빠, 미안하고.
Well written, right? Hi everyone, and welcome back to Noona's Noonchi Reacts, where I react to some of your favorite K-drama scenes from a mental health perspective. We're gonna watch a scene from Reply 1988, episode 20. If you recall, Bora gets married. That's the older sister in the main family with Toksun, right? Toksun's the main character. So Bora is her older sister. She gets married, and it's like a lovely family affair. But what I really want to talk about and react to is what happens after she gets married and the scene between Bora and her dad. And we'll break it down the best we can, but let's just react together to it, and I'll just talk about the dynamic there and how powerful it is. I'll try to get through it without crying.
키워줘서 고맙습니다.
My kids haven't said that to me, so that would be awesome if someone said, thank you for raising me, one of your kids.
내가 잘할게. 걱정하지 마라.
So they're sending her off to her honeymoon after the wedding. Oh, tears are welling up. Okay, so tears are welling up. No, but do you see the difference the way Bora said goodbye to her mom? Even though they're going to live close to each other, she says she's very affectionate with her mom. I love you, Mom. Thank you for raising me. Then to her dad, do you see the difference? Obviously, there's always a different dynamic between kids and parents and who they're not necessarily not close to, but just who they're a lot alike with. Usually the parent and child that are a lot alike tend to butt heads, just so you know. You would think that's not the case, but no. Those parents that are a lot like their kids and vice versa, they tend to butt heads. Pora's a lot like her dad. That's the concept, or that is the assumption throughout this whole 20 episode series. The dynamic between her and her dad versus her and her mom is very different. You can tell. This says it all. So she gives him a letter. So let's just see what the letter says, but already you see her emotion. She had to hold back the tears, right? She didn't hold back with her mom.
이제 우리도 집에 갑시다. 가서 동네 사람들끼리 술이라도 한잔 하죠.
예, 그럽시다.
엄마야.
야, 너가 아빠 어디 갔노? 좀 아까 여기 있었잖아.
그러게. 방금까지 있었는데?
So Pora's dad disappeared, and he likes drinking. So interesting, like, right? You know what he's doing, right? Going to go read the letter. I don't think we've ever seen Pora cry until
우리
episode.
보라가 이렇게 눈물이 많은 줄 몰랐네.
그러게. 나도 몰랐네.
So he wrote her a letter too. Can you not help crying? Oh, by the way, these tissues he's taking out is because the shoes were too big, and he couldn't tell Pora they were too big.
사랑하는 아빠. 말로는 못할 것 같아서 편지 써. 왜 난 늘 말이 안 될까? 아무래도 아빠를 많이 닮은 것 같지?
They're a lot alike.
아빠의 마음을 다는 모르겠지만 보라야 부르는 게 아빠 좀 봐달라는 말인 것도 알았고, 괜시리 밥 위에 반찬 얹어주는 게 사랑한다는 뜻인 것도 알았는데 나는 왜 모른 척만 했을까?
야, 명언니.
Sorry, I had to interrupt this because you'll get to see this, but that one line when she says, there's a lot of scenes, or maybe a couple scenes where he puts, parents putting the punch on top of the rice. It's an act of love, right? Let me feed you. Let me give you the good stuff. Where she says that, but I just stopped the scene at the line that she says, why did I pretend not to notice? I'm going to say, I feel like that's what we do in our culture. We just pretend not to notice. Not in a bad way, but it's so hard to express things. Now, Bora, I want to say, in some sense, just like the dad, I mean, she's the child, and most of the time usually have like the younger generation able to express more. Well, clearly she struggles with her dad because of a certain dynamic, but that doesn't mean less love. This is why I'm pointing this out. So when she goes, I pretended not to notice, I think that's when he starts breaking down, right? Because it's like, oh my gosh, it's so powerful. But anyway, I love that. And that's another thing. Your kids pretend not to notice things that you do. And vice versa, parents, maybe you pretend not to notice, but perhaps this is a lesson of so let's break down what happens to both of them as they're reading each other's letters and see. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with communicating through letters. I think that's what makes this beautiful, because it's their dynamic. And that's okay.
그게 제일 마음이 아프고 미안해. 아빠, 결혼 전에 아빠 얼굴 보고 꼭 말해주고 싶은 말이 있었는데 결국 또 이렇게 편지로 해. 너무 미안한 게 많은 못난 딸이라 아빠 이름만 불러도 눈물이 날 것 같아서.
Okay, can you not help tearing
아빠,
from this?
사랑하고 고맙습니다. 비록 반지하 단칸방이지만 너무 많은 사랑받았고 다시 태어나도 아빠 딸로 태어날래. 아빠, 미안하고 사랑해.
Well written, right? So she basically said everything in her, I think she's like 26, 27. Everything in her life, she said it, 27 years of love in that letter. Wouldn't it be nice if your kid said to you, if I had to be born again, I would want to be born as your child?
27년 전 딱 이맘때였나 보다. 네 엄마의 절규 소리가 들리고 곧 들리던 너의 응애 소리가 이 아빠는 아직도 귀에서 흔하단다. 그렇게 핏덩이 같던 네가 언제 이렇게 자라서 시집을 다 가고 네가 태어난 순간부터 한순간도 빠짐없이 이 애비의 가장 소중한 보석이라는 걸 잊지 말아라. 내 딸 사랑한다. 내 딸로 태어나줘서 더없이 고맙다.
You can see the words, 사랑하는 아빠, 아빠가, you know, which means love dad. Okay, you look, his son was crying, which I just noticed. That is the most emotion you've ever seen from Noona. So just to sum up that scene, which I think is super powerful, I love that it was in episode 20, because Pora throughout everything, just let me give you a character, because this is very important. She is pretty stoic, you know, that typical harsh, typical teen, right? Or the older sister that would be hard on her younger sister. You don't really see a lot of these vulnerable emotions. So this is where you actually saw it. You don't even see it with Sonu. I mean, in episode 20, she shows it in letter writing to her dad. So what I want to talk about is just confrontation. People think confrontation is harsh, like you have to yell at your parents or yell at your kids or yell at your, friends and coworkers. That's not necessarily how confrontation looks. Confrontation basically means confronting like emotions or confronting a situation I believe it can be done in a very healthy way. There are some poor confrontations, and that's probably what you think of. But language is pretty powerful, so I don't like to use confrontations a lot, but this is what's going on. For the first time in both of their lives, as her dad, Pora's dad and Pora, they're confronting the love they have for each other. They couldn't do it for 27 years because they're very similar. They're very similar, and you would just see their dynamic. Stiff, cold. Probably you can relate to that, kids, adult kids, young kids, that you know that your parents love you, but it's like you can't talk to them. You eat the food and you're like, yeah, I know they love me. Do you feel that pressure? I mean, do you feel that that angst? Well, I'm asking you, if there's a time you can confront, there's a way to lovingly confront your feelings. And letter writing is a great way. Really, it's a very therapeutic tool, so I don't discount that. In fact, I think it's very powerful. So if you want to do that, someday write a letter to your parents. I don't know, maybe you're about to graduate, about to get married. Do it. Why not, right? Because there's always regret when you don't confront. And again, I'm going to use confronting in a powerful way, a positive way of showing the love that you could not express, but do it in your own way. It does not have to be verbal. it can be in a letter, which obviously she dictated it. So I hope I made that clear, because I think people have to feel like I need to tell my parents something, or the parents feel like I need to express this way, and they feel like it's just one way. But remember, mental health is not linear, it's circular. So it can be many different ways, whatever works for you. Thanks for watching Noona's Noonchi Reacts. This was episode 20 for Reply 1988, probably an all-time favorite. I hope you'll continue subscribing to my channel, Noona's Noonchi, and join me again for Noona's Noonchi Reacts, where I react to some of your favorite K-drama scenes from a mental health perspective.